thanks for making time for us in your busy schedule. I know it's not always easy to carve out an hour or so to talk with us or to talk to anybody really when you got everything going on. So we appreciate you. But I want to get into, obviously, you have become known not just as a taxidermist, but as a crappie guide extraordinaire, the Crappie Whisperer. You just know how to catch crappie.
Right.
You've been doing it for a long time. I see on Facebook you're going out there. Doesn't matter who you're with, first timers, old timers. You're just pulling in a mess of fish, slabs, and it just looks like a blast. So obviously that's I wanted to reach out to you and talk crappie. But how did you, before we get into how you catch them and all that, how did you get into crappie fishing and kind of what's your background and how'd you get into it?
I think my obsession started when I was a little kid, and I had two dads, and they both liked to fish. One hunted more than the other, but I learned fishing from my stepdad mostly. And like I said, told you before, there was a picture of me I think I was 2 years old holding two crappie, and I was butt naked. And I'm like,
the classic young pictures from way back in the day.
Picture from Grandma's pond, you know. So I tell everybody that's where the obsession started. Butt naked and fishing. Oh man, it's crazy.
You still do that every now and then?
I wish, but I'm too white. I'll burn. So, but no, it started real young. Like I said, my stepdad took me a lot, and I just always wanted to go crappie fishing. I didn't care about it. I don't know where the drive came from. I just think it's just a fun fish. They're pretty. Mm-hmm. They're challenging at times, and they taste delicious.
They fry up good.
So you always seen the bass fishermen, and I was like, I like bass fishing and all, but the crappie was my challenge. I want to go after them. I want to figure them out. So, yeah, that's where that kind of that addiction started.
Yeah,
it really started young. So, and then I don't know. I think it was about I don't know when I was first able to get my first boat. Then I started going out. I was able to go out by myself.
Okay.
And
what age was that? Would you say?
I think I was right at 18 when I got my own boat.
Okay.
Finally, and was able to go. I didn't have to go with my dad or nobody. I was able to go out by myself, and I started watching YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The old YouTube, and
man, you can learn anything on YouTube.
Man, yeah. And I started seeing this guy named Wally Marshall dock shooting. I was like, man. I said, we got a lot of docks on beaver.
Yeah.
And I was watching that, and I was learning. Okay, so I went out the first day, and it was. I went up to one dock, and it was just bam, 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 bam. I was like, oh my god.
Fish after fish.
And it was wintertime, and I was coming in, and all the old timers were like, man, what'd you catch all them at? It's wintertime. Them are some slabs,
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kept being known for. I just kept catching them and catching them and catching them. Then I started figuring out other places, and I said, man, these fish are I can really catch them in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And then I started gaining attention, and then I was able to get some sponsors through talking about baits and stuff and posting stuff online. I got that, that professional attention, and then started doing some tournaments. And next thing I know, I got everybody asking me to take them fishing.
Yeah.
So then it just exploded from there, man.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome ride.
That's been so you've been doing basically. At first, you were just going out fishing, doing your thing, tournaments by yourself. Where you go with your dad. Or...
I started doing a lot of tournaments with my wife.
Okay.
So we were a team.
Yeah.
So, and that,
that's pretty cool.
My dad's fished with me a few of them.
What's it like fishing with your wife?
She might have a different opinion about it. It's fun. She knows the game going in.
Yeah.
Do
you get pretty serious? Like you get into competitor mode and you're like,
I'm so competitive.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm so competitive. I don't go fishing to go fishing. I go to go catching.
Yeah.
Just like my life, I run and gun.
Sure.
So, so fishing is, I run and gun. And, that's what you have to do. You have to run and gun. And she knows that. And I hook one and I say it's big. She runs up there with the net and gets it. She did that for a long time. She took care of the fish and live well, kept them alive for the tournaments and stuff. She'd fish with me, but it'd be a couple minutes. I'd have another one. She'd get the net again.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm just gonna stand here. So
you fish.
She's like, I'm just gonna stand here and net them, and it worked out perfect.
Yeah, it actually helps.
It was teamwork.
Yeah.
And she'd be back there going, no, that one ain't big enough, and she'd throw it over the side. I'm like, dang it. Be an ounce off to cull another one. It's like, dang it.
Oh man.
So yeah, it's fun. We do really developed our relationship doing that.
Yeah.
If you can fish with your wife, you'll stay married forever.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people get to do that. I've gotten to take my wife out some and do some fishing. I fly fish mostly. I'll say it now. I'm not a good crappie fisherman. The fact I just said crappie would tell you that. But I just haven't done it a whole lot. I didn't grow up on a lake. I didn't grow up around, lake fishing, boat fishing. I never had a boat, so it was always in a creek, in a stream, wherever you had access.
Yeah.
Any public access or private access that you had was how I grew up. And so I've taken my wife out doing some of that, and she likes it, but it's like it's not all the time, and the few times we do get to do it, it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely my passion more than
Right,
hers, for
right.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of women are into it, but it is what it is. It's fishing.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you were doing some tournaments, you and your wife. I assume you guys were doing well. You were winning,
yeah, we were doing real well.
I assume.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at what point did it kind of turn into people were calling you? How long after you kind of got started getting
it
serious?
wasn't long. I mean, social media just exploded it. People like take me, and I said no for a long time. I'm like, I'm
Really?
not a guide.
Yeah.
Go with this person, go with that person, and finally I just had to, like, man, I'm turning away money.
Yeah.
So
At this point, were you already self-employed? Were you kind of figuring out your career?
Well, I've been a taxidermist for almost 18 years now,
Okay.
so I was doing that, but I had a full-time job for a company, and I really didn't have time.
Yeah.
If I wanted to fish, I wanted to go on on the weekends with just me.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to have to take people. But then I was like, when I went completely full-time, being self-employed, then I was like, I need to go ahead and do this too.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a bigger boat, and then I got busy.
Yeah.
I mean, they constantly call me.
What's that jump? I'm just curious. Someone who loves to fish, someone who's had success in tournaments, but then taking something that you love doing and making it your job. What is that jump like? And I think like something I've always heard or thought of is, if I make something that I love my job, I may not love it quite as much. How do you relate to that?
I think it's more. Well, first, it's a scary jump to go from being employed somewhere to doing, your own gig.
Yeah.
It's very scary. If you're not working, you're not making money.
Right.
And you have to get up and go. So, but no, it's a scary deal, and I don't know.
Because I asked that because I bet there's a lot of people listening who they love to fish, they love to hunt, and they're like, how could I make that my full-time career? And then the second question would be like, do I even want to? You know what I mean?
So there's guides that do it every day. There's some guides in other states that do it every day, and there's no way I could do it because after the third or fourth day, you're just exhausted.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you're exhausted, especially if you're in the sun. So
it's a long day.
So I've made it to where I don't guide year round. Most of my time is February through May, and then I slow down, do one here and there because I just can't keep doing it. I burn myself out.
Yeah,
every year.
Yeah,
guiding. So yeah, it
does.
That. And then the guys that do it full time every day, the power to them. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, it is a grind. You mentioned being in the sun, being in the wind. The wind will beat you up just as much as the sun.
Yeah, and I'm so competitive that I want my customers to catch fish. I want them to to keep fish, and if that pressure, that pressure is just as bad as tournament fishing.
Yeah,
if you think
yeah,
you're like, man, I don't want to look like I stink.
Got these people paying me on their day off.
Yeah, they're like they see all these pictures from the last 3 days, and this day they're not going to bite.
Yeah,
I look bad. You know?
That's true.
So and the pressure. So after a couple of days, you got to take a break.
Yeah.
I do anyway. So yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you kind of, we were talking, but you kind of have a unique approach, which I actually really appreciate, but I see, potential downsides with it. But you were talking about if you don't have a good day, you won't charge.
Right. No.
I don't hear any guy doing that, or not that I know of. There's probably more, and you'd probably tell me there's a lot of people who maybe do that, but I've never heard of that.
I don't know another guy that does, and they tell me I'm crazy for doing it. And I have customers that if it's a bad day, I'll tell them it's a bad day, don't owe me nothing. They're like, they look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm not charging you.
I know I would.
Yeah,
because you spent the time. You paid for the gas. You took us out. You probably provided lunch and stuff like that.
Right. No, I don't worry about that. I just try to reschedule. I always go by. If you don't catch at least one limit, which is 15 on Beaver Lake, then you don't pay.
Wow.
And that's just, I mean, I've seen guides come in and, you know, their customers don't catch nothing and they want full payment. And I'm just like, oh, it's hard for me to swallow. I'm like, man, I'll take you out and take you for a boat ride. Yeah. I could have done that.
Yeah, we could just hang
That's
out.
easy money. That's what I say. But no, I want to be the guy that be like, man, we went with Peyton, we caught him, or we didn't. He didn't even charge us. We're going back next week.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so cool, man.
the word of mouth is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that in itself is enough for people to I mean, there's no loss, right? Like if it doesn't work out and you don't have a great day, you're not going to pay.
I'll come here and mount a deer and make my money. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
But yeah,
that's a really unique way to do it. I like that. I think a lot of people would appreciate that too. Just because, yeah, I mean, I've been on a trip. It wasn't locally, but I went on a trip down to. I was down in Florida one day, and I wasn't paying. I was on a trip with my friends, family, and we went out to go catch, I don't know, redfish or something, red snapper in the bay, and it was like an $800 trip. We didn't catch a single fish all day, and at the end of it, my buddy's dad still had to pay, and I remember being like, that sucks. I'm never going to pay for this. Like,
right. Yeah, you don't even get to eat nothing.
You get nothing. We had to stop by the fish market on the way back so we could tell the girls we caught something. It was just not what you want to do. And so kudos to you, man, for making that a policy.
You got to have something to take home and eat.
Yeah.
So
at the very least. Well, okay. So you started guiding. You're getting people coming with you. You're pulling fish in the boat. At what point do you kind of realize, like, maybe it was earlier than this, but you're like, I got this figured out. Like, I got this dialed in. I really feel like I'm really good at this. I know what I'm doing. Was there like ever a day that you had where you just like, I'm on the money. I know what I'm doing? Or at what point did you realize I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Oh, well, I'll be honest with you. You start thinking that attitude, you know, which, I mean, it's awesome. Some days you have those days you're like, man, I'm just like.
You get a little too cocky?
Yeah, you get a little too cocky, but Old Beaver Lake, she'll spank you.
Yeah.
You start thinking like that, like, I'm going to catch them every day. She'll spank you, and you won't get one to bite.
Mm.
So it's.
So humble you.
Yeah, you be humble on the days that's good.
Yeah.
And you be thankful, you know, that you had that day, because there's going to be a day coming. It's like, is there any fish in this lake?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people see that. They're like, there ain't no fish in this lake.
Yeah. Not a one.
Not a one. And then
Big Pete caught them all.
Yeah, and then they'll come to the boat ramp and I'm stringing up 45, and you know, that's just instant hate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're like, I don't like that guy.
Yeah. So I try to be nice. They'll come up talking. I'm like, oh man, yeah, we're using this and we're doing that. You didn't want to be that guy that's like, oh yeah.
Right. Not talking to him.
Sorry, you had a bad day.
Yeah.
No. But no, you know, every year I learn something new, but every year I go in knowing this is where the fish were last year. This is what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they were hitting on. And I can stay on that same method and be productive.
Okay.
They might switch colors on me.
Yeah. But
I can stay in that same pattern every year.
So what is it about crappie? I mean, do they have these, you talked about, you kind of have this season that you target them. Why do you target them during that time of the year? And kind of when can you catch crappie? Can you catch them year round?
Year round.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I like to do the February through, May is that crappie in our lake, and this is what I found out from all the years of fishing, they migrate up the rivers.
Okay.
Just like the white bass, the striper, and the walleye.
Okay.
I might have people that argue that with me, but I have a gut feeling they migrate upriver because it's the way I fish for them, and it's the way I find them. And you'll fish an area and it'll have, 10, 11-inch fish year round. And then all of a sudden, in that March period, there'll be a bunch of 14 to 17 inches. Well, where'd they come from?
Yeah, they get a lot bigger.
Yeah, they didn't grow that big in just a couple of,
right,
a couple days.
Yeah.
And it's because them fish have migrated up from the deeper part of the lake.
Okay.
Them fish down there at the end of the lake, they don't get bothered hardly at all.
Yeah.
There's a few guys up there that catch them, but other than that, they're staying 30, 35 foot deep.
And is that just because you can't reach them, or people just don't care to chase them when they're that deep?
They just don't care to burn a cigarette and watch that bait go. I mean, I'm fast paced fisherman.
Yeah.
I can't stand
that.
You like
to go.
I don't want to fish that deep.
Yeah.
So no, and that's the main thing. Them fish up there can be real tough. Clear water. They're picky. They have all day to look at your bait.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come up to it and just stare at it. They're like, I ain't eating that.
Yeah.
So no, the river end's a lot better productive for that bite. But anyway, them fish, they come up and they're bigger fish. So, and they're very aggressive. And sometimes they're only 2 or 3 foot deep in open water because most of the time with my clients, we either spider rig or we live scope fish.
Okay.
And, live scope's the new game now.
Yeah.
But
I want to get into that.
Yeah, we will. And that's the best time to catch those bigger fish. And customers, they'll catch one and they go, "That's the biggest crappie I've ever seen." And you're like,
it's one of those days where you're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah. And then you're like, cha-ching. Yeah. I'm a good guide here. Yeah. So, that's awesome. But that bite will stop. Them fish they'll come up and they'll spawn and they'll leave. And then they're back down lake. And then you're back to your 10, 11, 12-inch fish wondering, where's all the big fish go?
Gotcha. And that's about in that May time frame? Yeah.
They just disappear.
Interesting.
So you might catch 1 or 2 here and there, but it ain't a whole live well full of 12 to 14 inchers.
Yeah, just the slabs that you
see.
See.
Yeah. So, that's why I like to target at the time. People say it's an easy bite. It's not always, but it's a bigger bite.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the best time to take people. They have a blast.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love to go out there, one, just to catch fish, but to load up on just bigger than average fish, even just a good sized fish, pulling it in above average crappie. I mean, that's an awesome day.
And they'll be concentrated in one area, so you don't have to burn any gas.
Yeah. You're just sitting in the same spot.
Yeah, I put in and
turn that trolling motor
on. That's it.
Cruise.
Take off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a win-win.
Gotcha. So, okay. So February to May, what about the rest of the season? What are they kind of doing throughout the rest of the year? And do they come up because you think they're spawning in that time frame?
Yeah, they migrate up to spawn and to feed.
Okay.
Feeding heavily. Oh, there are bugs everywhere
tonight.
There's
bugs in here. All these dead animals.
Probably. I mean, mortuary. Anyway, and they come up and they start getting fat, and that's what creates that aggressive bite.
Okay.
So, and that's in that February, March time frame.
Yeah.
Best time to go, I think. And then after they spawn, they'll start headed back down lake. You'll still have your ones that are locals. I call them locals. They're there all the time.
Yeah.
They'll be on brush piles and this and that, roaming out there. And then they'll head down lake, the bigger fish will, and they'll get on pole timber. So, and you can catch them year-round down there on pole timber. I say year-round, that May to September.
Okay.
You'll find them year-round on pole timber.
Yeah.
Down lake. And you can also throw crankbaits during the summertime and catch them that way.
Okay.
But, it's a year-round thing. And, like I was saying earlier, my favorite way to catch them is dock shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you're looking for, and that's mostly black crappie.
Okay.
Our white crappie and our black crappie are segregated. You can say that word.
They haven't quite figured out the integrated society yet.
They don't hang out together much.
Well, that's a shame, man.
So it's like if people see me, and that's what I tell people. I said, "You see me catching black crappie, I'm dock shooting."
Yeah.
I mean, hands down. You can think whatever. I'm dock shooting.
I want to ask you something. Are crappie, are they territorial? Is that why you've got black crappie and they're all hanging out in the same spot? Are they territorial like that per species, or are they just a territorial fish in general?
I think black crappie get along more, and they're more social pack hunters.
Okay.
Your white crappie, not so much. Usually, when they get to a certain size, they're loners. And I've had crappie in a tank at my house, and you can tell that them white crappie, they're like, "This is my bubble. Don't get in it," because they'll go up and peck another fish.
Okay.
Like, stay out of my bubble. So I've noticed that a lot with white crappie. They're more territorial, like get out of my space.
Okay.
So, and they're also pack hunters. We call them wolf packs. There'll be 4 to 5 in a group, but they're all spaced out. They're usually not all together.
Yeah.
Your younger fish, your younger white crappie, they'll stack up.
They'll group up pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your black crappie are your schooled fish.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's why they get underneath those boat docks. They'll be all schooled up under there, and they're in that dark. They like black crappie like the dark, cold water.
Yeah.
So they'll be in the shadows, and the shadow will come by, and they'll just hammer them.
I mean, it makes sense. They're playing to their advantage with their camo color, right?
Yeah.
They're a little bit darker. Okay, so talk to me about dock shooting. This is kind of, you were talking about, this is how you kind of...
That's how I got started.
Okay.
Yeah. And dock shooting is a method that you take a 6-foot rod. It's what I like to use, B&M Sharpshooter 6, and a 16th ounce jig head with a baby shad or a jig that you like. And you'll find the darkest spot on the dock, whether it's a pontoon boat, underneath the pontoon boat, or a swim deck.
Okay.
So in between those swim decks, there'll be it'll be a black floats,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and they'll have a hole in there which you can get into the dock with in that dark shady spot.
Okay.
And that's usually where the crappie are. And you'll pretty much bend that rod back and shoot that jig underneath that dock. Set your bail, get ready, and feel a tap. Hook the fish.
So you're pretty precise. I mean, you're really whipping it into these tight holes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, they're only 2 inches wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, man. That's some accuracy right there.
Yeah, it's tight. And underneath the pontoons is my favorite because you shoot underneath that pontoon, and then you'll feel that tick when you set that hook, and it could be a bacon, it could be a walleye.
Yeah.
You know, a 5-pound largemouth bass.
Oh, dude.
Man, it's just you're just shooting into nothing like what's gonna hit it.
Something's under there. I just know it.
And you can catch limits doing that. There's so many crappie on boat docks, it's unreal on Beaver Lake. So I mean, it's a blast. It's challenging. You lose a lot of jig heads.
Yeah, yeah.
So
just get tangled up in the rafters.
In
and
anything,
stuff.
There could be a log underneath the pontoon boat that's hung in there.
Yeah,
you lose every jig in it.
Yeah,
you know. But if you shoot it just right, you'll pull a fish out.
How accurate have you become? I mean, talking about shooting a 2-inch gaff right there. How long does it take to get that good to be able to put something like that?
Lots of practice, and sometimes you have to breathe just right and wait for the waves to come down at a certain point. So you're like, okay, wait for the wave. When it comes down, then shoot. So it opens that gap up a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Or you breathe just right, you know. It's kind of like shooting a bow. You gotta hold your breath and
steady your aim.
Steady it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the technique? Are you kind of coming around the top, like drawing a C with the end of the rod?
Yeah, pretty much a C and keeping your line and your jig parallel with the water.
Okay.
Yep, and you shoot. I mean, it takes a lot of practice. I mean, sit at home with a 5-gallon bucket and shoot into it.
Yeah.
You know, pull it back like a bow and shoot your jig into the bucket.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
I like to grab behind the hook too. So not the jig head itself, but just behind the hook. You're grabbing the hook itself, but you're making sure the barbs are in front of your fingertips,
right?
So you don't hook yourself.
Yep.
And that's the Mac Daddy of crappie fishing. It's fun. It's challenging.
Yeah.
And you know, I get people that go with me, and they'll just go, "God, how'd you do that?"
You know, get that in there.
Yeah, and they'll shoot it and it'll go 5 foot in the air and over the backside. They're like, I gotta have some practice. I'm like, yeah, keep shooting.
Yeah,
you'll get it down.
That'd be me. I'd be trying to figure out how to get it.
So much fun. I mean, it's just it's challenging, but it's fun.
How important is it to get it just in the right spot? I mean, accuracy of the cast. Is that everything? Like, you got to do that? Or can you kind of get away with some of these, like, that wasn't the best cast, but they're going to hit that anyways?
Yeah, if they're not deep underneath there, you can get away with it. Sometimes they'll be 20, 30 feet back in there.
Yeah.
And if you don't pull it back as hard as you can and get it all the way back there, they won't come get it.
Yeah, just tucked up.
Yeah.
Man.
So, I mean, it's accuracy. Get it in the right spot where they are.
So that's the way. Is that pretty much like, you're talking February to May when you're guiding? Is that pretty much the method you use? What would you say? 80% of the time?
Like dock shooting, I don't guide doing that because it's too difficult. And like I said,
you don't guide dock shooting?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't do that because it's too tough. It's too tough to teach.
Gotcha.
And you lose so many jig heads on your own. You know, so you have a bunch of people.
A whole boat full.
Bang, 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 ping, ping. And the next thing you know, you got a dock carter coming downhill going, y'all need to get away from my dog.
Yeah, seriously.
So, no, I don't do that. I mostly do that for fun. Or if I have somebody that wants to just come learn dock shooting, then I'll spend one-on-one trip with them.
Okay.
So I do one-on-one educational trips, which we can do that, or electronics or the live scope fishing.
Yeah.
But no, that's just a method to go out and learn it and catch limits. Be consistent. It's the dock fish.
Okay, so when you talk about that, so say someone comes out there and they do the one-on-one education with you, are you kind of setting them up to do something like you can shoot docks year-round?
Yeah, and you don't have to have expensive equipment. You can do it out of a kayak. You don't have to have all this technology. Just go from dock to dock to dock, whichever ones you can get to, and look for the dark places and shoot your jig in there.
Yeah,
I mean, besides the jig heads you're going to be using, it's a cheap way of catching them, and it can be consistent and productive.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it, just the consistency of it. Because everybody goes out and you're just like, I was catching them on this one day. They go out there, no fish. No fish to be found, right? And I'm sure that's still going to happen from time to time. And
sometimes, you go to dock and there'll be 600-700 fish on it because now with live scope we can count. I mean, oh my gosh, look how many's there. Just lights up.
Yeah.
You might catch 3 or 4, and the other ones are like, I ain't falling for that. Yeah. Bob and Jeff just got hooked.
Yeah. There goes Bob again.
Yeah, they're like, I'm not biting that.
Yeah.
So and then you just go to the next one. And the way I've became so consistent catching fish is because I move a bunch. I'll catch 2 here, 2 there, 3 there, 4 there, 2 there. I move fast. You know, if the bite quits, I'm gone.
You're gone. On to the next dock.
It's not watching a bobber watching a bobber going, oh, they're going to turn on any minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no.
Do you target specific docks? I mean, I'm sure you kind of know what the honey hole docks are, but you're like, I'm looking for a really big dock that's got this kind of, structure. It's got this overhanging thing with shade. What are you looking for?
At least 15 foot of water, 12 to 15 foot of water, all the way to 60 foot.
Okay.
So I'm looking for docks with lots of boats in them, pontoons, even some of these docks that are enclosed still. They're grandfathered in. Those are good ones. Just mainly your deep, your dark, deep docks are the best.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I find them on docks sometimes, and I'm like, I never knew there was fish here.
Yeah.
Just be loaded up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't ever be like, that don't even look like it has no fish on it.
Mm-hmm.
No, check it out.
You'll hit it.
Yeah, go check it out and see if it does. Then you'll kind of learn, which docks are better.
Mm-hmm.
But 90% of them have fish on them.
Yeah.
So,
Makes
I mean,
sense.
you're going to catch some. You might shoot dinner and catch a bunch of Kentuckys.
Yeah.
Spotted bass. So, I mean, that's a win, too.
On the same rig and setup?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I've caught 5-pound largemouth. So, didn't get them all in.
Yeah.
But once they realize they're hooked, they're gone.
Yeah.
So, or they'll come out and eat a 6-inch crappie.
Oh,
so,
man. That's awesome.
But.
So, okay, so you don't do that when you're taking your clients out, but you do teach that. What are you mostly fishing then when you're bringing somebody on the boat?
So when I bring somebody on the boat, usually we do the spider rigging.
Okay.
So it's a method. We have 8 16-foot rods.
Okay.
And each rod has 2 baits on it.
That's a long rod.
Yeah. And what that does is get our poles out far out in front of us so we don't spook fish.
Okay.
And I'll set 2 people up front, and I'll be behind them with my remote controlling the trolling motor.
Okay.
So, and all we're doing is covering water for suspended fish. Suspended fish are out there roaming. And we do that method, or we do the actual single pole, where we're after the same suspended fish, but we're using live scope, the new technology, to catch a single fish. So I'll scan and I'll find that fish, and I'll have my customers pitch out there to that fish and hold the rod, and you just lower it down, and that fish will see that jig and come up and hit it.
Take it.
Yep.
What's the key to spider rigging? I mean, you're just kind of you're covering water, right? Like you're covering ground and I don't know, you tell me, but do you know that there's fish there before you spider rig a spot, or are you just trying to cover as much ground as you can to find them?
Usually we go in and use your old 2D side scan sonar, and you pick up fish. Stump fields or just mud flats.
Mm-hmm.
Usually year round there's fish there, so you just set your rods out and you cover the water.
Okay.
After doing it so many years, where fish should and shouldn't be, and yeah. And now with live scope, I mean, you scan through there. And when I'm spider rigging, I'll scan it back and forth, and I'll turn my spider rigs into that fish and go right for it. And I say, okay, now watch this rod right here. He's gonna hit it.
You can pick the rod.
Yeah,
of the 8
I can
that
pick
you
the
got
rod. I
rigged
said,
up.
and I tell him, I said, this is rod 1, 2, 3, and 4. I said, this is on your number one. Number 1, get ready.
Yeah.
So live scope's a great tool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's and they'll get all ready, and that you'll see that fish come up and hit it, and they'll just set the hook.
Gosh, man, that's fun.
That's a blast.
That's like playing video games.
Yeah, it's video game fishing. That it is.
Yeah.
So, but my customers end up getting to watching the screen, and I'll be like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. They're like, what?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
You're fishing, buddy.
Yeah, get number 1.
Hook him.
Hook him. So, yeah, it's a blast. So, there's so many methods to catch them.
Yeah.
And being a productive fisherman, I'll be like, you need to learn multiple methods.
Yeah.
Because they're always biting somewhere on something. So.
Will you, if you're going out there and I say it's just you, or if you're going out there and say they're just not hitting on the dock shooting, will you change it up and rig a spider rig, or is that seems like a lot of equipment to kind of switch?
Yeah. So when I go by myself, it'll be the dock shooting, or it'll be the single poling.
Yeah.
Or just fishing. Same method of single poling, but you're if you're fishing pole timber, you'll scan to that piece of pole timber and you'll see the crappie on it. So it's pretty much pitching out to them and catching them that way.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, I don't usually spider rig when I'm by myself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I want to run and gun. I don't mind spider rigging, but I don't love it.
Yeah,
it's too slow for me.
Yeah.
So
you're this run and gun. See every time.
I mean,
Makes sense.
I don't want to go 100 yards and have to not see a fish.
Yeah. Oh.
So back before live scope, it wasn't no bad. It was like it's fine. But now it's like I'm scanning like crazy, like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah. How
So-
do you feel about the live scope? Obviously, you're kind of touting it. It's a great tool and it helps you find fish. There is some controversy though around it of people saying like, I don't know, man, that's just not fishing. That's not the way I did it when I was growing up, or my dad did it, or all that stuff.
You get that.
What is the controversy?
It's that they're depleting the population. Is that these guys are going out and they're catching their limit every time instead of just catching 10 or 12 like they used to. Like no, before live scope, I was still catching limits.
Yeah.
So and on other lakes that are known for really big fish, and them lakes do have big fish. And if everybody's going there and catching a 3-pounder and taking it home and mounting it, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
But with our lake, our fish that are big fish are old. So you're only doing the population better by taking out the older fish in our lake.
Why is that?
Because they're done spawning. They've already spawned 2 or 3 times in their lifetime. And it's like this year we've seen a lot of our big females, they never even try to spawn. They're absorbing their eggs. I mean, they didn't even attempt it.
Really?
So, on our lake, most of your fish that are doing the spawning are your 9 to 12-inch fish. So in our lake, it does. We're not going to hurt the population on our lake at all, I don't think.
And are you saying that's unique to our lake?
It is for that train of thought.
Okay.
The big fish.
Okay.
Now, it's different than bass. Bass, the big females are your breeders. Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But with crappie, it's totally different. So, and there's more. I mean, one crappie can, spawn out 50,000 babies. I mean, it's not.
That's crazy.
It's not hurting anything. If only 500 of them spawn, that's 500,000.
Yeah.
So,
It's a ton of fish.
there's tons of it. And I tell people that, and that's why I don't care to teach people how to, to crappie fish and show them things. Even people on the bank giving them free pointers because there's enough for everybody.
Right.
And I tell people, I mean, like I go up to these docks and there's 1,000.
Yeah.
1,000 crappie under. They're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. And you're like, no, seriously,
And
catch
I'll send them a picture of my phone. Like, look at the screen. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's crappie.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're good.
Yeah.
Beaver Lake's good to go.
Well, what would you say in terms of, obviously you've been fishing a while. What would you say our relative population is now as it compares to the past? Is it as good as it's ever been? Is it down from where it used to be? People always talk about like, oh, back in the old days.
Oh man, back in I hear my uncles talk about back in the 80s. I mean, it's just they get tired of catching them. I mean, it was just like, oh man, that's another one. They get done in 30 minutes catching their limit. And that could be 45 or 65 or whatever.
Yeah.
That they did back then.
Whatever it was back then.
Yeah, and then it's all 14 inches. I think that size class is kind of gone now. I mean, there is more people catching, but there wasn't as many people fishing then. So there was more. There's probably too many, and there probably was a lot of old fish.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's still. That was probably excellent, but it's still good.
Okay.
It's a good, excellent. If we have another good spawn, it'll be back to excellent. I mean, the water this year and the weather it killed the spawn. Most of our black crappie did spawn, but our white crappie, most of them didn't.
Really?
So
how come?
Yeah. Just because our black crappie will go to the bank at 55 degrees and spawn. So that water temperature, it kind of regulates itself. It stays that 55. But our white crappie want to spawn at 60 to 62. Well, when it's trying to get to 60 to 62, it fluctuates real bad.
Yeah, right. You got the cold nights. You got the rain coming in, dropping the temp.
And crappie are lazy.
Yeah.
And, the white crappie get up there and they're like, I'm not going to keep doing this. Either we're going to do it today or we're not going to do it at all. And that's the mentality that them fish have. I mean, that's what I've noticed after all these years of fishing. If it messes with them too many times when they're ready to spawn, they're like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just going back out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll absorb these eggs. Try again next year.
Better luck next year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's how it's been the last couple of years is that weather fluctuation, or we'll get a huge flood.
Yeah.
Or it's like now the course draining the lake now. Like all the bass are trying to spawn, they're draining the lake out from under them. So and it's not the course says it's not a hatchery. It's a water reservoir.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So
and there's so many interests within one population of you have the drinking water, then you have the Corps of Engineers, the dam, like the hydroelectric power, then you've got the people down in the tailwaters, and then the people up into Missouri and Table Rock, and like you just
now the tailwaters are all complaining that the hot water's coming in and killing trout.
exactly.
So I mean, it's
you can't win.
Yeah, they can't win for
Yeah.
sure. But I mean, I don't know. But there's plenty of crappie. They'll recover.
Yeah.
So I mean, John Stein, he's a really good biologist we have here, and we
talked to John.
Yeah, he takes care of our stuff, man, and he watches it and he talks to us, and he'll spawn out crappie fry up there in the management ponds, and they'll get tons of them.
Yeah.
And so we're good.
We're in good hands.
Yeah, he puts out habitat, and I mean, there's plenty of it. If anybody says there ain't no crappie in Beaver Lake, they need to come with me.
Yeah. They're not looking in the right
I'll make them sick. Like, oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah.
You're right, man.
It's just not you can't catch them all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Beaver Lake. She's evil. I mean, it's nature. You think you got nature figured out, she'll whoop you.
Yeah, that's just in any aspect of the outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Once you feel like you got it figured out, that's exactly when you're going to learn something new.
I mean, I have them really good days. I tap that water and I say, thank you, old girl.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's, because the next day she could be mean to me.
How often would you say that happens where you go out there and you're just like, man, you know what? I got whooped today.
I'll say out of 20 or 30 trips out, maybe 3 of them.
Okay.
Could be that way.
Yeah.
It could be a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this end of April into May, I think it was 2 weeks of that. I mean, it was like, man, she's being mean.
She's mean to me.
Yeah, I'm like, and it's bad when you're on top of all the fish that are right under the boat.
So you're finding them still.
Oh, they'll follow it all the way up to the troll motor, and they'll go back down. And you're like, well, I guess you didn't want it.
Huh.
Because, the water got so clear real fast.
Yeah.
So they'd follow that bait all the way to the troll motor, and you'd see them come up out of the shadows, and then go back down. I'm like,
what the heck?
Don't matter what you threw at them.
What
You drop a live minnow down there, and they just be like, yeah, I ain't eating that.
Wow. Man, they're just picky. Fish are funny like that. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes you just don't know what's going to be the thing to.
Yeah,
piss
and
'em
that's
off
why
on
I like, the darker water, because they don't have time to look at your jig.
Right.
When it's clear, they can inspect it.
Yeah, they're
Too
taking
long.
the opportunity.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just going to hit quick.
Yeah, they're just looking at it going, that sparkle's off.
Hmm.
Nah, I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
So like I said, they're lazy.
Yeah, they are lazy.
Yeah, they're not going to hang around and taste it.
Yeah. So, okay, so we talked about a little bit of this. So you already talked about what you would use to shoot ducks. Did you go into the equipment you'd need for spider rigging? How do you rig those up?
So it's a 16-foot Bucks graphite jig pole from B&M.
Okay.
I like to use 8-pound test
Okay.
on that, and number 2 bronze hook at the top and a loop knot, and then down from that about 12 inches.
Is a loop knot just to give it that extra little bit of
Yeah,
wiggle?
and it gets it away from the main line.
Okay.
So, and that's what you put a minnow on.
Okay.
And then you'll come down and you'll have a half-ounce egg sinker, a swivel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really matter what size. No ocean swivel, just small swivel.
Yeah.
And then down another 12 inches and have you a 16-ounce jig head and a plastic and another minnow.
Okay.
And so my baits are roughly 2 foot apart.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that covers a lot of the water, the depths of water.
Yeah. So on one pole, you've got 2 baits.
All 8 of them has 2 baits.
Okay.
So
2 per.
going back to the picky crappie, he comes up, he looks at one bait, and then he goes, "Oh, there's a minnow up there. I'm gonna eat that instead."
Okay.
And then
Give them a little options.
And this, people always say crappie don't feed down. Most of the time they don't. But I've watched them look at that minnow, then come down and come back up and hit that bottom bait, just because it has a chartreuse tail or something.
Just something different.
Yeah. So, and then I've had it happen a couple times. They'll eat the bottom bait and they eat the top bait.
Oh, both of them.
Yeah,
they'll
they
hit
eat both of them. Yeah,
they're just hungry.
or they'll come out of nowhere and just hammer that sinker, just gulp it. And I'm like, why are you hitting the sinker?
What is that?
And you can see that now in live scope. But before that, I actually hooked one in the corner of the mouth because the line got wrapped around it, and he had the sinker in his mouth.
He's just munching on the sinker. Come on, man.
That's crappie for you. I mean, they're just
feisty.
They're just, you don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a challenge.
Will you, across your 8 poles, will you change the colors of your bait, your minnows, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'll change different colors. If I
Okay.
find one that's really working, I'll put them all on there.
Okay.
Like silverfish is a great color.
You go all in on it.
Silverfish, minnow, minor. Yeah, I'll put them on all of them. So that way they ain't got too much of a choice. It's minnow or bait. Which one you want?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah.
But
That's.
yeah.
I mean,
I have a whole tackle tray of all different colors because, like this year we found that they wanted black and chartreuse, and the water was just as clear as drinking water. Like, why do you want that?
Yeah.
They wouldn't hit anything that's that's a natural color. Nothing. They wanted black and chartreuse.
Do you have kind of general rules of thumb? People talk about clear day, clear water. Put this on sunny, overcast, cloudy water.
Yeah, I mean, and I go back to this, that cloudy days for some reason are some of your best days for dog fishing. The cloudy, rainy, nasty days.
Yeah.
Then black crappie just get feisty
Hmm.
and they want to eat. And most of the time, when I dog shoot, I'll use a Bobby Garland baby shad and monkey milk. You go monkey milk and the lima chartreuse jig head is a color you can throw year round on Beaver Lake and catch fish with.
Really?
And any species.
Wow.
So
that's a pro tip right there.
That's a pro tip. That's a good one right
That's
there.
a good
Monkey
tip.
milk, lima chartreuse jig head.
Write that down,
16th
everybody.
ounce. Yeah.
16th ounce.
Yeah. If they sent me to the lake and they gave me that one bait for the year, I'd be all right.
That'd be the one you'd pick.
Yeah, that's it.
All
Yep.
right. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get out there and try that.
Yeah. So when people open up my tackle box, they're like, "Well, you got a lot of monkey milk."
You're like, you're dang right. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch me. You lose half of them today trying to get this big old fish out of the bottom of this dock.
Yeah.
So,
man, that's cool. What else haven't we covered? I want to make sure that we can put. Well, I was going to ask you this. Obviously everything you're talking about is hitting them from a boat, right? Can you catch crappie not in a boat?
you can, but it's gotten so tough now that there's so many of us that well, I shouldn't say us, but there's so many anglers that bank fish.
Mm-hmm.
So, and our lake's got such a thick shoreline that they don't have very many options.
Okay.
So, yes and no.
When you say thick shoreline, what do you mean?
So, like, it's unaccessible.
Okay.
It'd be a better word.
Yeah.
So, those accessible spots, they get hammered.
Sure.
So, when people ask, hey, where can I catch them from bank? Best advice to give them is Lake Elmdale or Lake Fayetteville.
Mm.
It has more bank fishing opportunities, and it's easier for them to catch fish.
Yeah.
That way. I won't ever send somebody to Beaver Lake to catch from the bank.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a huge lake.
Yeah, it is.
And to sit there and feel like you're doing your best to cover any water or find fish, it's like, it's just not.
And I don't want to lie to somebody. Oh, you can go right here and catch them from the bank just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if that was the case, I'd be down there.
Yeah, right.
I don't have to burn no gas.
Yeah.
So.
And do the same kind of methods and tactics that you just talked about, do those apply on like Lake Elmdale, Lake Fayetteville?
Oh yeah,
Bella Vista Lakes.
Yeah, you can spider rig or live scope. I'd love to go live scope Bella Vista Lakes. I haven't got to go up there yet, but I heard there was some of them with some crappie in them.
Okay.
And nobody's really after them. I'm probably catching big ones.
Yeah.
So
I know people up there doing some catfishing and stuff up on those lakes.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be in there pretty thick.
Yeah, they're big red ear too, I heard. So yeah, I'll get carried away on that. But yeah, you can. I mean, anywhere in the United States. I mean, it's a crappie lake. These methods work.
Crappie, they're just anywhere.
Yeah.
Are they predominantly in lakes? Can you find them in rivers? Can you find them in ponds? I guess if someone stocked a pond, maybe.
Yeah, Arkansas River ponds are there's if you can find it's hard to get access to ponds anymore.
Right.
I've even caught crappie in Osage Creek.
Really?
Out there towards Siloam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've caught them in there before. So
they're pretty ubiquitous. They're wherever you look for them.
They're a native species.
Okay.
So yeah, but your lakes have your biggest numbers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So. Like I said, Beaver Lake's great for them. It's got a ton of crappie.
Yeah.
It's not known for crappie. It's known for stripers, but there's a lot.
I'll ask you this. Have you fished outside of Beaver Lake a whole lot? Have you kind of explored and gone to different lakes? I know you were doing some tournaments. Do you go out of the state? And how does fishing there compare to here?
I went down I really another good crappie lake I like is down not far from Fort Smith. It's called Blue Mountain.
Okay.
That's a really good crappie lake.
Mm.
It's fed off from the river, and it's different fishing, but it's your white crappie.
Okay.
So it's mostly a live scope lake. I mean, you're out there catching suspended fish above mud flats.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of fish in there.
Yeah.
So Bull Shoals is really good.
Okay.
I have a buddy over there he's catching hammers. So, but it goes back to it's clear water and you fish deep.
Right.
I went over there once, and it was a hard pill to swallow. I mean, fishing 30 foot deep, waiting on that thing and
waiting on the
chunk, fighting the wind. I'm like, man, it broke rods trying to get back one day because it was so rough.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, Bull Shoals is a big lake.
I was like, Beaver Lake's it's my home lake, and she's mean enough. So I try to stay on her and just stay on top of them fish.
Yeah.
So
know where they're at.
yeah, if you leave her for a couple weeks, you're out of the loop.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll ask you this to kind of start wrapping it up. What is it that you love about fishing Beaver Lake and fishing just around here, Northwest Arkansas, that has just kept you coming back time and time again?
well, I mean, not only being a home lake, but everything's so close. Home's close. Restaurants are close. I mean, it's just everything.
The fly, he likes
Yeah,
your mic.
it's this time of year now, and what is that word I'm looking for?
Convenient.
Convenient. Yeah, convenient.
There you go.
Everything's so convenient. And there's plenty of fish here. So it's like, trying to go somewhere else is kind of pointless. I know I can go here, I can get my limit, and I can go home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the convenience of a lake is what I like here.
Yeah.
The most.
And I think you would probably relate to this as a outdoorsman who doesn't just fish, who likes to hunt, who likes to do other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This area is just incredible for anything you want to go do.
Yeah, I mean, I can go hunt in the morning and then go catch me a limit and then go hunt the evening.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a great day.
Yeah. And sometimes when I'm fishing, I see more bucks chasing does than I see when I'm hunting in the evening. I'm like, dang it.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh, man.
That's how it goes every time. You go out, like squirrel season just opened up. You go out squirrel hunting, you're going to see a bunch of deer.
Yeah.
Or better yet, you're going to see a bunch of turkey, right?
Yeah.
Turkey season just ended.
Yeah, coming up to you wanting to check you out. I'm like, where were you a couple weeks ago?
Just like 2 weeks ago. Where were you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
Oh, that's squirrel hunting too, though. You go squirrel hunting, you don't see no squirrels.
Yeah.
You go deer hunting, they're like running down your arm.
They're everywhere.
So I'm like, oh.
And they sound like a big buck coming up
Oh,
behind
yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah. They get right next to me and start barking. And
Yeah.
I'm like, keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up. See what happens.
Yeah. I'll be here for you tomorrow. Don't see nothing.
Yeah.
So
that's how it is. But yeah, the area is, you got so many opportunities. And even I'd say, your business, because there's so much variety here, you're able to do what you do versus, if you're somebody who's up in, say, not to rag on Kansas is a great state, but if you're up there, it's like, that's a big buck state.
Yeah.
You're up there to hunt big deer. They've got other stuff, sure, but it's like it's a little bit more like single track, one lane, and it's just the fact that you can do so many different things here and go catch crappie, or especially in the spring, crappie, turkey. You can get after the smallmouth. You can go find morels.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like countless things.
There's so much you can do in a day.
Yeah.
The opportunities are endless.
Yeah, it is.
So it's a great place.
Yeah.
It really is.
Absolutely.
So, and I mean, like I said, crappie fishing this lake's good, and I mean, I could talk all night about crappie fishing. So
yeah,
there's so much stuff in my head. I'll forget more than I'll ever remember.
You gotta start writing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna write a book.
I'd probably need to.
You might need to.
But stuff will change in a couple years, I'm sure.
That's true. Well, at least we'll have this interview. This will live on. As far as I know, no one has told me that podcasts will ever be deleted from the internet. So
no.
This should be here as long as the internet exists.
Yeah. And, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, awesome. Well, Peyton, thanks for having us out here and talking with us and taking a little bit of time away from your busy schedule and letting us steal some of that time away to share your knowledge and expertise. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you having you here, man.
Absolutely. You are an apiary, so I learn is the word that is technically, it's a fancy word for beekeeper, right?
Yeah, apiarist.
An apiarist?
Something like that, yeah.
Yes. So, and then the apiary would be the hive itself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Or where you keep the hives.
Or where you keep the hive.
Yeah.
See, I'm already learning stuff here. So how did you get into that? And kind of what do you do with that business? Because it is a business for you, right? People will call you and they pay for you to come do what for them?
Come do cutouts. I got into it with another buddy. He opened a hive up with me one time, and I was addicted right from the start. They're amazing insects.
Yeah.
So, and then I got my own hives, and it just continued to grow from there.
So what's a cutout?
Okay, so a cutout is like a swarm of bees move into somebody's house or a tree in their yard, and most people are allergic to them, or they're just scared of them in general. They don't know much about them.
Don't want to get stung.
And you don't really want them in your house because they'll get in there and build a huge hive. And if something was to ever happen to them or they die, all that honey's got to go somewhere. And, bugs will get in there and open up all the honey cells. Next thing you know, your wall's falling in.
Yeah.
So, and we also encourage people not to spray them. Let us come cut them out because If the bees aren't there to protect it, then you got a mess. So, but yeah, we'll go in there and we'll find them, and then we'll pretty much cut them out. That's why they call it a cutout, because you usually have to cut them out of a wall or a fireplace, something like that. And we can take out all the comb and the bees, and we take them and put them in one of our hives at our farm.
Okay. And so how many hives do you have currently?
I think I've got 52 right now.
52 hives.
Yeah. And that's probably, not much to big time keepers. They have
that
hundreds,
sounds like a ton to me. I mean, my dad had 2 for a little bit, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You've got 52.
Yeah, 52 right now. So.
And have you bought any of those, or those have all come from this rescue?
When I started, I bought 2.
Okay. Just to
get started. And ever since then, it's just been gaining and losing, by the different years.
Okay.
Some winters we lose some, and some, we keep them, and then we gain even more the next year. So, but a lot of them do come from cutouts or swarm rescues. People will call and say, hey, there's a swarm of bees in my yard. We'll go get them. So
how much honey do you get from 52 hives?
Oh, man, I think this year is going to be really good. I mean, we should easily have over 100 gallons.
100 gallons.
Should at least.
Holy cow.
So maybe more, maybe less, but I'm estimating right now 100 gallons.
That's insane.
Yeah.
What do you do with all that honey?
Well, we sell it,
I guess you'd have to.
I mean, the first big year we had with I think I had 30 something hives, and our first big year, and we sold 80 gallons, and it paid for all my equipment.
Wow.
Everything that I invested, it paid it all back.
Yeah.
So every year since then, it's just been profit.
Just straight profit.
Yeah, unless I buy more bee boxes and stuff. So
yeah,
I'm not losing anything besides time.
How much for 52 hives? I assume they have to be somewhat spaced out. You can't just probably line them up like a condo and a hotel down on the Panama Beach. You got to kind of space them out, right?
Well, yeah, I put them. I do put a bunch of them together, but they're spread out anywhere from 10 to 15 foot apart.
Okay.
There'll be a 3, and then there'll be 4, and then there'll be a 3 and 4. I like to have room to mow around,
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So, and if I know these 4, there's something wrong with them, then the other ones aren't going to be right next to them, spreading that an insect or a possible disease. That you can keep them spaced out.
So they are pretty close. You don't need a whole lot of land and room. I'm just thinking, like, for a guy who's got an acre, would he be able to keep 50 hives on his place?
Because bees will travel 3 to 5 miles to
to
forage and find stuff. I mean, so as long as there's enough resources there, I mean, yeah.
Just around the vicinity of the area. You don't have to have everything on your property.
No, they'll go out and like in the heat of summer, they'll be making the old lady down the street mad because they'll be raiding the hummingbird feeder. So
that old lady down the street, she doesn't like your bees.
The bees are all over my hummingbird feeder. So I mean, yeah, they'll go out and forage and find stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you can start beekeeping, you at least want to start with 2 hives.
Okay, gotcha.
So if one's doing better than the other, then you realize that, this other one's not doing as good. Or if you need to borrow eggs or brood from one to boost the other, you can. Mm-hmm. So that's what's always good to start with 2.
What kind of maintenance do you have to do on those to keep everyone healthy and happy? And because I know bees, they can be kind of fickle and they can die off. They can abandon the hive. They can do different things. What kind of stuff do you have to do to keep them around?
During the warm seasons, I inspect every week to 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just to make sure there's no swarming issues, make sure everybody's healthy. The queen's laying right. That's the main thing. If your queen's not doing good, the hive's doomed.
And do you physically open up the hive to find the queen in each one of the hives?
No, usually what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll look for a brood pattern. I'll make sure they have plenty of honey, but I'll make sure she's trying to lay in every cell, and it's just solid. If it's a spotty brood, then it's a queen that I don't need to have. I need to get rid of her. She's not bred good, and she's just not laying right. So what I'll do is I'll remove her from that hive and then introduce a new queen or let them make a new one.
Do you call like a queen recruiter? Like, where do you find a new queen?
So usually,
LinkedIn,
you're right. Usually, I have some other small hives that I just breed queens in.
Oh, okay.
So hive they will take an egg and they will build a queen cell, and they can make a new queen out of that.
Really?
Yep. They can make their own queen. All the bees in the hive are female.
Out of one hive.
Yep, they're all female except for drones, and the drones are just there mainly in the spring and summer.
Interesting.
But all the queen's not the boss. All the nurse bees are the bosses.
Really?
Yeah,
I feel like that's opposite of what I was taught in school.
Yeah. The nurse bees are the bosses. The queen's just there to lay eggs.
Really?
She's
So
she's an egg slave.
So the queen is kind of she's overtitled, really.
Yeah, I mean, they take care of her. I mean,
regard.
they feed her and they clean her and they take care of her. But she's there to do one thing, and if she don't do her job right, they'll kill her themselves.
Wow, that's
make
crazy.
A new one.
Man, that's a high pressure job there.
So what if I find that situation, I just kind of hurry the process.
Okay,
like, you're not doing good.
Yeah,
and then it'll be amazing how a hive can turn around with a good queen. So.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I kind of always thought the queen ran the show. She laid the eggs. Everyone protected her because she was the boss. But it's really just because they are trying to further their own hive.
Yeah.
It's like a total survival instinct, right?
Yeah, the nurse bees stay with her and they push her around and get a cell clean, and she'll inspect it and then lay an egg in it and then move on to the next one.
How about that? That's crazy. So you've got 52 hives. You're getting about 100 gallons. So my rough math, it's about 2 gallons a hive, roughly.
Yeah, probably more or less. Some will be more because you'll have, like I said, back to the good queen.
Yeah,
I mean, you could get a swarm and a great queen, and that swarm can give you honey by the fall.
Man, that is cool.
That's how fast it, and gallons of it.
That's insane. I want to try some of this stuff. I've had some local natural honey. I'm sure it's probably similar to any other natural honey you've had, but do you feel like your stuff is like really good? Like, does it taste better than honey you can buy in the store?
So we have a peach orchard real close to us. So a lot of times our honey will taste like peaches.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and oh man, it's good.
So the flavor kind of cross contaminates.
Yeah, because a lot of them peach trees sap out. And the bees, I've seen the bees harvesting that sap, eating it and stuff, and they'll go back and turn it into honey.
That sounds delicious.
So,
peach flavored honey.
Yeah, and everybody's like, hey, man, how'd you make it peach flavored? And I'm like, I didn't.
I didn't do anything.
The bees did it.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool. Do you give like an extra markup for peach flavored honey?
I didn't, but now people are like, you got any of that peach honey? Can I have that peach honey? It's like, no, last year they didn't make any. It wasn't peachy. So this year I tasted some and it's peachy. So
peachy honey.
Yeah, peachy honey.
I love it, man.
And everybody's like, man, you take that and put that on a honey bun. Oh. Yeah. So I'm like,
just stop me.
Or put a little in your whiskey. I mean, they're all about it.
Yeah, man, that sounds good. So so how much of your time does that take? I mean, that's probably more seasonal, right? And everything you kind of do is a little bit seasonal. But just kind of thinking about how you spend your time and balance between being a crappie guide, a fabulous crappie guide at that, running the taxidermy shop, getting these calls. What kind of time split do you think it takes per week to go on these different calls?
Oh man, it's I'll be in here working, and I got a guy that works with me in here too. So, I could get a bee call, and I'll be like, okay, we'll schedule it for Wednesday.
Yeah, and
I'll try to do all my bee stuff on Wednesday. Guide trips. When I'm doing that full time, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Let's schedule it for those days. The rest I've got to be here or running on bee calls.
Okay.
I mean, even if if I'm here working and I get a swarm call, I'll tidy up what I'm doing and I'll run and go get them and then come back.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it is time management, but I mean, I don't work 8 to 5. It's when I get up to when I go to bed.
Yeah. Just whenever you can.
Yeah, when I get done.
Yeah.
Now that it's daylight till 8, I mean, I come in
You're
at 8.
working late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's nice. I enjoy the extra time in the day because it does kind of feel like you have more time to do stuff that you need to do or want to do.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'm self-employed, so I mean, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
Run and gun.
That's right.
That's what I do.
That's
run
right.
and gun.
Well, speaking of run and gun, something, you're talking about moving quick, doing things fast. Let's talk about something that doesn't quite move so fast. Taxidermy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's always wondering, where's my deer? Why is it taking so long? Peyton, I dropped this deer off with you a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What's going on? What takes so long and just what is the process? Maybe help people understand. This is your chance, I guess, to explain why taxidermy takes so long. And when someone drops off a deer and it's now 2 years later, what's kind of behind that process and what goes into that?
Well, most deer are dropped off between, the 20th of October till, I don't know, probably November 30th.
Okay.
And, in all that time, pretty much all you're doing is taking in deer. You're taking in deer, you're scanning, you're measuring, you're hearing the hunting stories. I mean, one person, like last year I had one guy that hung out here for 3 hours.
Just talking?
Just want to talk about his deer and his hunt, and that's awesome. So we kind of devote, a month and a half just to take in deer and talk and write measurements down and take their form. And and go back and forth.
And you're hunting too, I assume.
Yeah. So I mean,
during the season.
yeah. I mean, I getting close to 4 o'clock. I'm gonna go get in the stand.
Yeah.
And that's one of those days is how I killed old big boy here behind me. Because it's like, man, I got out of here, and I was like, that was was it Wednesday on muzzleloading. The first cool evening
That's
we
what
had.
this guy was?
Yeah, it was the first cool night we had, and I was like, man, I'm glad I was there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, usually taxidermists are hunters too. So
yeah,
we like to hunt during that time. But
I assume that's kind of how you get into it, right? You maybe do one for yourself. You kind of learn it, and you're like, I could do this. Like, I think that this wouldn't be so hard to do for other people.
I became a taxidermist because I got tired of waiting on deer.
Yeah.
And now I hardly ever get to mount my own. So like, this is the first one I mounted for myself in years.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not waiting on this one. I'm finally
doing it.
I'm doing it.
And this was how many years ago did you shoot this one?
Oh, this was like the past season.
This was past season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have some customers go, you mounted your own deer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm not, I'm not taking the heat.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's my business.
Yeah. I didn't go fishing that day. I mounted that deer.
Yeah. There you go. So it takes a while to take them in, right?
Yeah. You take one in, you take the measurements. I mean, to put it not characteristically, but say I take a deer in on a Monday.
Yeah.
If I had all the stuff here to do it, the form and everything, I can mount it on Friday. Then it's got to dry for 2 weeks. So, but the way we run business is we tan a whole bunch of hides, and then we mount a whole bunch. We tan a whole bunch, we mount a whole bunch. Then we spend a whole week just painting, just to finish work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, I mean, you don't want to, mix up all your paint and stuff for one deer.
Yeah.
You want to do several. Well, so.
Okay, now, I'm not a taxidermist, so forgive me if this is a bad question, but what are you painting?
So you paint the noses and the inside of the noses, the outside. You paint around the eyes and the inside of the ears.
Oh, okay. Because you've got basically
putting their makeup on is what I call it.
That makes sense. I guess I always assume you've got the hide, right, and it's the color of the skin and the nose and the eyes is all natural. But
all that fades in the process of painting, so you have to add that detail back.
Gotcha.
In that color.
Okay.
So
there's some painting in it.
Yeah, there's some painting.
So you're
involved.
A bit of an artist too.
Yeah. I don't like finished work. I like just mounting them and putting them together. I mean, but that's part of it.
Yeah, I guess you gotta do every little aspect of it.
My favorite thing to do is predators, or fix to do a whole bunch of those pretty soon. So
predator mounts.
Predators like bobcats and coyotes.
Not just the skins. Like you got some tube skins here.
Yeah. No, the full mount.
The full mount.
Yep, they're my favorite.
Oh, that's cool.
So
why are those your favorite?
I don't know. Everybody else thinks they're really hard, and I just enjoy doing them. I like fluffing them up and having a big, pretty bobcat. They're just cool looking.
They are cool. I mean,
everybody sees deer.
Yeah, sure.
But you're like, oh man, somebody walks in your house and they see a big old bobcat mounted up. They're like, man, that's cool.
I feel like the bobcat mounts, the fox mounts, the stuff that I see feels like you get to be a little bit more creative with the setup because it's chasing a quail or it's jumping up in the air trying to catch a Tweety bird or something. Do you like that creativity of it? Do you try to mix it up and put these scenes together, or you just like the simple stuff too?
Well, it's whatever the customer orders, but sometimes they'll have me mount a squirrel with it or a duck or a pheasant, which we'll do all that too. Open mouth, closed mouth. But usually just a cat laying on the log.
Yeah.
Acting like he has no care in the world, just sitting there going, I'm pretty.
I'm pretty.
Yep.
Look at these spots.
Yep. So
that's pretty cool.
But yeah, it's all time consuming. I mean, if you're not a busy taxidermist, then not many people are coming to you.
Yeah.
So
you'd rather be busy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I tell customers. If you're not waiting on me, then something's wrong. So
yeah, there's a reason people aren't coming.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a sign of a good taxidermist. So it takes a while, and then I know. Obviously, over the last couple of years with COVID and stuff, there's been challenges with getting supplies and stuff like that. And I think I follow you on Facebook, and I saw a video you posted probably a couple weeks ago. You were talking about how the eyes, you're waiting on these really nice glass eyes. You put in an order. It takes 5-6 months for them to get here. But then after all that time, the order gets canceled because the supplier went out of business. So now you got to put in a new order. You're waiting another 5-6 months. Stuff like that. How often does that happen?
COVID's the first time I've ever seen it. I mean, you order something that's here in 3 to 4 days. I waited on glass eyes for 13 months.
Oh my gosh.
And then got my order canceled and had to scramble and find something somewhere else.
Wow.
You get to using a glass eye that's handmade and pretty, and that's what customers expect because eye makes them out. It really does.
Okay.
And all they had left was the old black ones from the 80s is what I call them. They're old There's no detail in them.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, I did not want to use those. And, you know, I got caught up waiting. So it put me behind.
That puts you behind.
Yeah.
And you still probably haven't caught up from, I mean, 13 months is a long time.
Yeah. I mean, we were, you know, our 2021 deer were waiting. So, yeah, we're finally caught up. We got a few of those left, and we're starting on our 22s now.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to have them all done by the September. So we're rocking and rolling, man.
Rocking and rolling, man.
So